Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Bell. I'm the HCM Practice Director at YASH Technologies. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our webinar, Evaluating Talent Management, Which Solution is Right for You? A little bit about myself. Again, I'm the HCM Practice Manager or Director at YASH Technologies. I have previous experience in delivering large HR transformation implementations and projects across all of the HCM and talent management suites. So it may have been across SaaS implementations, on-premise. I've really worn quite a few hats in my previous careers, but now I'm at YASH where we're quickly ramping up our SuccessFactors practice as well as developing the HCM practitioners in the specific space. Also with me today, we have Dave Anjos. He'll also be presenting some information about SuccessFactors as a company and also as a specific demo around the actual product and roadmap around SuccessFactors. So just to give you a little bit of background of what to expect for today, we'll review just a little bit about the evolution of talent management, kind of how it's evolved, how HR has kind of evolved from just core HR into talent management, and now what we're referring to as more of an integrated talent management suite or HCM suite and business execution suite. We'll also talk a little bit about the business drivers around talent management. So one of the biggest questions I get from clients is, what exactly is talent management and what's in that taxonomy? So we'll talk a little bit about what are the typical definitions around talent management as well as what those business drivers are. Dave will then provide us with background around SuccessFactors. As you know, SuccessFactors was acquired by SAP probably about a year ago. So it'll provide us a little bit about a company overview as well as a demo into the application and a roadmap around the specific areas that SuccessFactors will target over the next year. And then we'll follow that with a summary and wrap-up. Now, please do hold your questions for the end, but we ask that you can also use text chat to answer any questions you might have throughout the presentation, and we'll address them in the QA. All right, so I gave you a little bit about myself. Dave, would you mind just providing a little bit of an introduction for yourself as well?
Sure. Thanks, Jackie. As Jackie said, my name is Dave Anjos. I'm the Technical Alliance Manager from SuccessFactors. In my current role, I help support our partners and our partners' clients, enabling the SuccessFactors suite. As Jackie mentioned, later on I'll be giving you an overview of SuccessFactors as well as a demo of our suite. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Dave. Now to provide you just a little bit of background around YASH. As I mentioned, we're quickly ramping up our HCM practice and specifically within the SuccessFactors space. We're 120 plus HCM professionals. We've become a SuccessFactors consulting partner back in May, and again, quickly ramping up those practitioners and our practice in that space. We're located globally, so we are located across the U.S. domestically as well as international locations all over the world. We have a leading HCM NetWeaver provider as well, and a contributing partner to SAP HCM development and their best practices. We're really a solution provider and a consulting firm for that nuts to bolts for the hire to retire capabilities. So we provide advisory around that, the implementation around that, and the road mapping around that as well. The diagram below, though, is it's one component of that. It articulates some of our services, but we'll dig into a little bit deeper what that diagram is and what clients are requesting from us. Okay, just to quickly poll our audience, before we jump into the presentation, it'd be great to just know a little bit more about who you are. So what is your line of business? Are you A, human resources and talent management, technology information systems and HRS, or are you operations, shared services, and finance? Or maybe you're part of that other bucket, as far as not part of the anyone's above, but part of another part of your organization, designated as other. We'll give you 10 seconds to reply. Okay, so it looks like we're getting quite a few, I think, in the HR space, as well as technology. Great. No, it's great that we have quite a diverse group today, so we're looking forward to this presentation. All right, now to get into the meat of the presentation. Again, thanks everyone for joining. But what we wanted to do before we jumped into SuccessFactors at the demonstration and the company overview, I thought it would be important to provide you with some context around the state of the industry and really how talent management and HR have evolved. If we focus on that first bucket number 1, talent management really took a focus on the service delivery components and capabilities. Primarily focused on how will employees access their information, how will it be maintained. Also, as part of the manager self-service, thinking about who has accountability for completing information and how it will be delivered. So there was this huge emphasis around service delivery. So employee self-service, manager self-service, maybe it was the tier 1 around HR shared services, as well as how do we get our centers of excellence and HR business partners involved in this cycle. And it's really accommodating those key resources around applicants, alumni, employees, and managers. We also talked about core HR, time and attendance, workforce analytics, and payroll. These are the typical capabilities I consider core HR, not necessarily related to the talent management, but without these core functions, you won't have talent management. It's really the building blocks for talent management, but really important to the organization to have those in place first. So a huge emphasis in that in the 90s and 2000s, but now, as we move on to bucket number 2, it moved into an emphasis of more strategic thinking, so thinking around talent management and those capabilities. But not necessarily were they thought upon as an integrated way. All of these functions were kind of working in a silo to some extent. So, for instance, you may have had a Centers of Excellence for Performance Management or Talent Acquisition. Talent Acquisition used an application like Taleo. Performance Management may have been owned by SuccessFactors. Learning and Plateau, Compensation, Salary.com. So all these disparate systems, or what I would have called best-of-breed applications, across the organization. So not necessarily an efficient way of aggregating all the data, making it meaningful, having the right inputs and outputs to each of those capabilities. So I would say that most organizations today fall in between the second bucket and the third bucket. As we jump into the third bucket, there's this emphasis around integration. So what I would call an integrated talent management suite or talent management execution. So as we start to move into the future and where we're at now, there's this huge drive to integrate the platforms and integrate the processes. So there's a recognition around that things that happen in performance management are they're happening in succession management, or that learning management is influencing some of the decisions that need to happen in succession as well, or in performance management and folks' current roles. The other emphasis around this diagram is that there's more of a holistic view and having to, the need to gather more information from finance or CRM systems and benchmark data. So although all of these items are integrated in the cloud and now kind of falling under one platform, there's still a need to aggregate all of this data so that you can make accurate business decisions. In addition, I would say that there's a huge movement to make sure that all of these align to your business results. So thinking about how does my strategy, my business strategy align to my talent strategy, and how does that talent strategy then execute on providing successful business results. Most of these are also, the emphasis is moving from an on-premise to a cloud solution as well. So thinking about how does this all sit within, outside of our firewall. So that's some additional thoughts and emphasis as well. Okay, if we jump to the next slide, it's important for organizations to start thinking about their talent management space. So thinking more so around what is the taxonomy of talent management, what is the definition of talent management. So most CEOs or CFOs, that's some of the questions that they ask their businesses, is that I see you have a business case for developing in these areas, but I don't know what really is contained or what the business drivers are. Why is it important to me? For the purpose of today, we'll talk about talent management in a few different buckets. I think the ones that are listed here and on the next slide, but I'll touch upon these first. When we think about competencies and job profiles, it's really being able to measure jobs consistently and provide a common standard across the organization. I would say competencies are probably the core or the backbone to every organization as far as just being able to measure roles and positions accurately across the organization. Competencies will fall across every single bucket of the capabilities, whether it be recruiting and understanding the competencies that you need to hire, competencies that need to be learned across performance or for future roles. It really is truly what I consider the backbone. Workforce planning and mobility and analytics is another category I would consider part of this talent management bucket or HCM suite. It enables organizations to intelligently anticipate and plan for potential workforce risks. So across your critical workforce segments, so thinking about how does it impact diversity, diversity measurements, emerging markets, maybe job sites or new location creation. So thinking about how do we need to, rather than react, to be proactive about measuring those critical workforce segments. Talent acquisition is an interesting one. It's one of the first introductions a candidate may have to the organization, and truly your first, PR, I would say, because a bad experience at the candidate level can definitely influence PR outside the organization. I'd say this also is also applicable to onboarding. But really, talent acquisition builds the organizational brand. It's the first entry for a candidate into the organization, so the first experience they'll have. Same with onboarding. It's critical to get that right as well up front. Again, re-emphasizing that PR. If I have a bad onboarding experience where I don't have my computer set up the first day, I don't have access to systems, I'm spending my first week or two without an office, those types of experiences aren't necessarily the first types of experiences that an employee wants to have as they're walking into their career for the first time. So something to think about as far as just getting those components right and how it sets the tone for the rest of the talent management cycle. If we jump into the next slide, we talked a little bit about learning and development. Learning and development is absolutely a critical component to the talent management suite. Talent management, I would say, learning management falls across several of the capabilities, but it's really the opportunity to develop staff in specific competencies or skill sets to achieve improvements or skills needed for current or future roles. So with the current roles, you're typically seeing learning management and career development pop up in performance management. So what areas of competencies and skills do I need, or where do I need to learn and develop in order to be successful in my current role? You see it in future roles around succession management, specifically around what is it going to take for this incumbent to be successful in their roles 2 to 3 years out, 1 to 2 years out? How am I going to be prepared, or how are my incumbents going to be prepared to take on more successful roles in the future, and what types of learning and development do they need to be successful? A lot of overlap across all the capabilities. So with performance management, we touched upon this briefly, but again, one of those critical components that floats into all of the capabilities as well. Really important to have a performance rating for your succession management evaluations or talent reviews, understanding what their historical performance ratings have been. Also, performance ratings, very critical in standardizing a process of evaluating, comparing, and rating employees. So making sure that you're equitably rating them and evaluating them across the organization. Also, succession management, we mentioned with performance management as well, but effective long-term talent management planning across the entire across levels of the organization or enterprise with focus on needed skills for critical roles. So extremely critical to have the right incumbents for those future roles and thinking about what type of learning capabilities they need, how successful they've been in current roles, are you setting them up to be successful in future roles. With compensation, though, we talk a little bit more about pay for performance. So thinking about what do I need to do in order to establish rewards and recognition for job achievements against established individual objectives and contributions, and how does that contribute to the business strategy and goals and results that they're actually delivering. So really important, again, to align that performance cycle to that compensation cycle and evaluating and providing equitable rewards and recognition for employees across the board or across similar roles. At the last portion is the HR bucket, and I would say this is completely foundational data, absolutely required to build upon all of these strategic initiatives. So functions are often considered more operational in nature, like benefits, payroll, core HR, some basic analytics about your workforce. but absolutely necessary to build upon all of these capabilities. So without HR, I would say you don't have any of the other strategic components to build upon. If we skip to the next slide, we actually skipped over this diagram earlier, but I want to touch upon it now. I'll let there we go. So what you're seeing is the way that we typically look at the potential options for a client and what model makes the most sense for them as far as implementations go. Clients often ask me, where do I start with talent management, or where do I start with an HR implementation if they're given the task to kind of identify the roadmap? And I think the answer is that there's really no right answer for where I start. I think for the most part, many clients have asked me in the past that, I have a PeopleSoft implementation where I'm not quite ready to let go of my investment in HCM, or I'm not quite ready to jump over to, a new system for my SAP or Lawson's or Oracle implementations. But I do recognize I need to get more strategic around talent management, in which case we may recommend, okay, stay on your SAP HCM application for core HR, PAOM, but we'll start to think about how we're going to implement some strategic initiatives around talent management. Maybe it's recruiting first, maybe it's performance management, but it really depends on the priorities of your organization. So building upon your business needs, understanding the timing around that, the resources available to accommodate some of that. So thinking about if I'm going to plan on implementing performance management and start in March with a cycle starting in April, probably not the best thing to start with. So those are the types of considerations we would help you evaluate or think about. But again, there isn't just one right answer. Obviously, there's always the opportunity to implement everything under one platform, similar to a SuccessFactors using Employee Central and the full BizX suite. But I'll let Dave kind of dig into that a little bit deeper and what the options are. Okay, so we have one quick polling question of the audience. And when clients choose to implement an integrated business execution or talent management application, they typically start with, is it A, recruiting and learning management, B, compensation, performance management, and succession management, C, performance management, succession, and career development, or D, there is no one right answer. Solutions may vary by need. We'll give the audience a second or two to reply. Wow, okay, so people were listening, but honestly, it really is. There isn't one right answer for each capability. I think it's dependent upon the priorities of your organization, where to start, especially if you already have some of the foundational building blocks in place. It's really only upon the critical business needs you might have. With that, I'm going to switch it over to Dave, and he'll address he'll introduce you to SuccessFactors and the company overview.
Great. Thanks, Jackie. As Jackie mentioned, we're going to go through just a few quick slides regarding SuccessFactors, giving you a brief overview. Then we're going to get into a demo of the solution. Now, SuccessFactors, for those of you who don't know, is one of the largest software as a service providers in the industry. We have over 3,500 customers, over 15 million users dispersed across 168 different countries and 34 languages. So whether you're a small company with a few dozen employees or our largest client with over 2 million users, we have a proven platform. And all of those clients run the same code, and that exemplifies the configurability of our solution. As Jackie mentioned, about this time last year, we were acquired by SAP, and we immediately started feeling the impact of that. Literally on the first day, there were hundreds of development and engineering resources that came over and have started to help us with both their HRIS domain as well as their just horsepower in helping us reduce our roadmap, which was previously 7 to 10 years. Now, in some cases under 1 year. It's been a tremendous positive impact for us. At the core of SuccessFactors is this concept of business execution. And really what that's about is about helping companies close the gap between the setting of strategies and the execution of those strategies. All too often, companies or employees for organizations don't understand company strategies and goals. Companies aren't using their workforce to their full potential. A lot of time is wasted on non-productive work. SuccessFactors helps companies get beyond those hurdles and get to the core of helping them optimize their workforce performance. Throughout our suite, there are three key tenets. One being aligned through the setting of goals, performance management, and workforce planning. We help get people working on the right things. Secondly, optimize, whether it be through recruiting, both the traditional applicant tracking systems as well as reaching out into the social platforms, compensation, pay for performance, the all-important learning, whether that learning be via the traditional LMS with very structured content and courses or through social learning, as well as the very important succession planning, which is more and more prevalent today with the exodus of the baby boomers from the workforce. And then finally, helping those businesses accelerate. Again, through JAM, our social collaboration platform, as well as our class-leading analytics, and we'll talk a little bit about that during the demo. All of this is built upon our Employee Central HRIS solution. And as Jackie mentioned, it's real important to understand that whatever your need is, maybe it's succession, and we're seeing that a lot lately where companies are coming into us and say, yeah, we're okay on HRIS, but we have a real problem with succession right now. We have a lot of people retiring from our workforce. We need to get that up and running quick. Can we do that without implementing your HRIS solution? And the answer most definitely is yes. And that's a big differentiator for us in the marketplace. So we handle the full talent management process from hire to retire, all on one unified platform. And as I go through the demo, you'll please pay attention to whether it's performance data available for learning activities, compensation, how we can have access to performance data, et cetera, how it's all available to you in the unified platform. Now, if you do any research on SuccessFactors, whether you're looking at Gartner, Forrester, IDC, Bernstein, et cetera, you'll always see SuccessFactors in the top right of the quadrant, market leader, the most innovative, et cetera. We eagerly anticipate the 2013 reports coming out. All indications are that we'll be even further to the right since the SAP acquisition and how we've been able to be so innovative with our product. So again, that was just a quick overview of SuccessFactors. Now I'm going to get into a demo of our solution. Now for the demo, I'm going to concentrate on just a couple key areas. And this demo is being delivered to you via a web browser. As I mentioned, SuccessFactors is software as a service, so all the users need to access their application is Safari, IE, Firefox, etc. We also distribute our suite on mobile platforms. Mobile is at the forefront of all of our development activities. And so whether you're running iOS devices, iPhones, iPads, etc., Android devices, as well as BlackBerry devices, we have specific apps for each one of those platforms. Now, SuccessFactors being software as a service, one of the things, we have a great, architectural platform that allows us to support some of the volumes that I mentioned previously. Right? What I think the real key benefit for business users is the innovation. We have 4 releases per year, and with each release, they're not just little bug fixes or little enhancements. We're delivering major new pieces of functionality 4 times a year, and without the pain of clients having to go through that upgrade process traditionally associated with on-premise software. Now, for this demo, I'm going to be logged in as Carla Grant. Carla is a mid-level manager in the organization, and such has people reporting to her. As I look at this home page, there's a couple things I want to point out right here. One is the introduction of metrics on the home page. And one of the things that we always try and do at SuccessFactors is expose those talent management metrics front and center, whether you're looking at a home page like this, or if you're in the middle of a particular process, such as a performance review or compensation planning, etc. We don't want users to have to go and run a report to be able to look at how people are executing. It's always front and center as you're executing a specific task. Now, I'm going to start right here with just, we're going to dive into Carla a little bit and look at her profile. Now, this right here is a public profile, and this is what anyone will see when they do a search, maybe trying to find Carla in the organization. Another key tenet of SuccessFactors is that it's meant to be used by everyone in the organization. And whether or not you have the right for specific tasks, whether to do updates and stuff, is all controlled by role-based security. So I, as Carla, can come in here and real easy update my profile, assuming I have the rights to do so, fine-tune it, what have you. Now, this is just a public profile, and there's not too much information here. What I'm going to show you now is an example of how we can build out a profile for a particular user. So here, now we're looking at a talent profile of Carla. We can see some basic employee information, how she's been tagged in the organization, any nominations that may be associated with her. As we scroll down through the screen, you can see a lot of different sections of data elements associated with Carla, whether it be a work experience in the company or leadership experience or formal education. We can also see things like her learning history. We're grabbing this data right from our learning product, making it part of the profile. What we've done now is we have this very extensible employee profile that we can use when we're going through tasks such as succession planning or even recruiting. If Carla is one of our top performers, we can understand what her makeup is and use that data to help create that job requisition and that job profile for any new hires. As we mentioned, we also have a full-blown HRIS. So all the things associated with an HRIS, such as common transactional events, people moving from position to position, compensation events, etc., fully supported. Also, time and attendance and global payroll. Now, here when I come in here as Carla, I can see some of the requests that are out there that are related to me. I can just open up one of these and I see there's a salary increase for Richard. I can see the before and after values because everything's effective dated within the data model. I can come in here as Carla, approve or deny this request, put some comments in. I can see who initiated the request, as well as I can see the full workflow of the request. Again, a very easy, intuitive user interface so people can come in, be effective with all the HRIS transactional type data. Continuing on with Carla, one of the things I also want to point out is the org chart. So what we do is whether an organization uses our HRIS or we're grabbing the data from an upstream system, we model the organization. So we can understand Carla's position in the organization, their relationships to others. So whether it's a standard manager-subordinate relationship, a dotted line relationship, a matrix relationship, an HR relationship, etc., we can model those complex relationships. We also support position management within our suite. Now, whenever you see an employee in SuccessFactors, you're going to see this little index card, quick card, some people call it baseball card. What that does is it gives you one-click access so that you can get right to an employee's profile, personal information, or maybe any of the specific talent management activities that are going on. Also, when you look at this org chart, important to note that here's just a minor item, but a minor metric, but kind of an important metric. As you're looking at the org chart, we're just exposing how many direct reports Carla has, how many people total in her team. How many times have you walked into an organization and asked how many people in your company or how many people on your team, and it requires getting a DBA to run a report out of some back-end system. Here's just a real quick example of how we expose those metrics. Now, continuing on, we're going to try and show you a piece of functionality from each of the tenets: align, optimize, and accelerate. For align, what we're going to cover is the performance review process. Now, SuccessFactors supports multiple ways of doing performance reviews: the traditional manager to subordinate review, a 360 review, which is great for development activities. It allows you to get that feedback from within the company as well as external resources, and a team rater, which allows you to compare and do a quick assessment of individuals side by side based upon key competencies. This is great for when you have going through major changes in an organization, maybe you're going through a merger or acquisition activity. Really great for those quick assessments of team rater. Now back to the team overview and the traditional manager to subordinate. A colleague can come in here, I can see where everyone is in the workflow process for my performance review. All the team members, really easy to ask for feedback from maybe other people that have interacted with their team members, get a real quick glimpse of where people are in this process. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the performance review for Marcus. There's one unrated item I have to complete. So when I come in here, here's another great example of metrics that we're exposing. I can see Marcus's overall score so far in this review process, as well as all the different weightings and such associated with the performance review. All of this is completely configurable. The different sections on the review, the weighting, the rating scales, that allows us to meet what a company's existing process needs, or if they want to adopt new ones, a highly configurable process. I can also see how Marcus is ranking versus his peers. Any supporting information, any notes that might have been taken throughout the year on Marcus's performance readily available to me, as well as a gap analysis. So I'll keep this in the back of my head as I go through the performance review, and as I get towards the end, maybe I want to incorporate some learning activities for places that Marcus needs a little bit of improvement on. Now, as I continue through this performance review, we can see goals that came in from the goal plan with how Marcus executed throughout the year. What I'm going to concentrate on is on competency. So when I come in and I want to rate Marcus on this communication competency, and the competencies are part of SuccessFactors. We'll have a library with 85 different competencies, a class-leading competency library. So when I come in here to look at this particular competency, I can see how Marcus rated himself. In this particular case, we're using stars. It could just as well be numbers here, and what he wrote about this particular item. So we at SuccessFactors provide many tools to help make this a more comprehensive and professional review. So I can come in as Carl, and I can maybe agree that, yes, maybe Marcus did exceed expectations. But the real power is how I write the review. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm just going to write a politically incorrect statement here. We say Marcus did well for an older man. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute our legal scan. And what that's going to do is that's going to search the narrative that I entered and identify any terms or phrases that may cause compliance issues. What this does is it gives you that great first line of legal defense while in the performance review process. So I'm going to get rid of that. That was just a brief example of our legal scan. But now we want to create that real narrative. And for that, we provide a tool called our Writing Assistant. And what that does is provides context-sensitive talking points for each competency that we're reviewing. So while Marcus maybe exceeded expectations, maybe he's kind of like an IT software sales guy and uses too much jargon and confusing terminology. So I select that particular talking point. It's creating a narrative down here for me. If I want to, I can change the tense of that narrative as well as the positivity of that narrative, and it's adjusting the text for me. I can place that right in there. The Writing Assistant is really good for looking at historical performance. One of the things we also want to do is drive execution going forward. And for that, we have the Coaching Advisor, which provides suggestions for the employee as well as the manager, and I can place that right in the review also. So that's great. Now I've completed the review portion with all the competencies and such. And my reviews are almost done now. As part of this review process, one of the places that we noticed that Marcus was below expectations was on the communication competency. So right from here, if I want to, I can add new learning activities. I can reach right into my LMS, understand any courses or content or learning opportunities that may be out there for this particular competency, assign it to Marcus, becomes part of his development plan. Another great use of adding development items right in the context of performance review is gearing somebody for that next position. Maybe they need a certain skill set to get to that next level, can also use it from that perspective. So performance, part of that aligned tenet and success factors. Now imagine we've gone through that goal-setting process, we've been engaged throughout the year, monitoring the execution of our goals, we completed our performance review, we went through the calibration process. Now we want to use this data for a strategic purpose. We want to optimize our workforce. And for that, I'm going to show you compensation. To me, this is one of the best examples of how we start to see the unified platform. So I'm going to open up a comp and bonus plan that Carl is in the middle of doing. So, of course, it has a workflow, same workflow engine that we use for our performance review. And here we have multiple items in this compensation worksheet. Salary, MBO bonus, stock, variable pay, multiple options for compensation here. And really what we're trying to do is institute a pay-for-performance culture in the organization. All too often companies give this lip service, but they struggle to achieve it. Why? There can be a couple of reasons. One, timeliness. A lot of companies get through the performance review process and they go, whew, we're done. And by the time they get to, the compensation piece, it could be months later. Employees don't see the correlation between how they were rated and how it affects their pay. And two, a lot of times just assembling all of this data and such is a very cumbersome process and difficult for organizations to achieve. So right here, when I'm looking at this compensation plan, a couple different things I want to point out here. One, budgets. So you can set different budget categories, and this is a big area for clients to implement success factors. A lot of them have come from the spreadsheet compensation planning process, where they have a tough time maintaining the integrity of budgets. With success factors, we overcome that hurdle. We also support full multi-currency. So if you're a global organization, your needs are met. Now, one of the things we also do here, we're exposing metrics right within the process. So we can see, based upon the people that Carl is doing the compensation planning for, what their performance distribution looks like, how it looks in context with pay performance metrics, etc. Bringing those metrics to bear, and as I update the compensation plan, these metrics dynamically update. So getting to the meat of the compensation plan and the actual worksheet. Now this is a pretty wide worksheet. Comp plan administrators worksheets are some of the widest spreadsheets you'll ever see, and SuccessFactors support the configuration of different columns as well as a calc engine to allow you to create custom calculations. So as I look at this, we're just bringing in some basic data, Marcus off. I have access to that index card, quick card, so I can get to the employee profile, understand the history of Marcus. I have access to his latest performance review, understand how he's executing against versus his peers, etc. We support complex calculations such as prorating. We're bringing in some historical data. You can also bring in third-party, salary range data. More often than not, we're seeing our clients now bring in multiple sources of that and use that data in the calculation when you're trying to determine a merit increase or a salary range, things of that nature. We support, range penetration, compo ratio. And then now, as we continue on, we look at a potential merit increase for Marcus. Based upon how he's executed, there are guidelines set up that will recommend the appropriate merit increase. If you want, you can override this data, of course. We also have hard and soft warnings, depending upon what you want when you exceed those guidelines. Of course, you can make adjustments from some distributions. This is just meant to exemplify some of the standard elements of a comp plan. Again, all of these columns are completely configurable. We're also calculating a bonus right here. We have a bonus target, bonus guidelines, and then finally we get off to the final salary for integration into whatever your payroll system may be, as well as support, maybe the kicking off and promotion process. So hopefully you take away from this compensation piece how SuccessFactors is completely unified. So we're taking that performance data, historical data regarding an employee's profile, bringing that all together to bear so you can do that compensation planning and make those key decisions. So that was compensation planning, one of the key areas of our optimized Tenets. Now finally, what I want to show you a little bit is our analytics. And on the analytics side, we support, I look at it as really as two ways. One, traditional operational reporting, standard dashboards, out-of-the-box reports, all around your traditional, talent management processes, whether it be monitoring, a performance review process, how people are executing on specific competencies, performance distributions, what have you, as well as a very easy-to-use business ad hoc report writer that allows you to access all of the data in the suite across all of the different business processes and create your custom reports. That's what I call our operational reporting. But in addition, we have class-leading analytics. So what we've done is we've incorporated all the traditional items you would expect to see in an enterprise class BI tool. So that you can, do all the slicing and dicing of data by various different, time ranges or data elements, do all your report designing and such, all within this tool, right? So all that BI stuff that we've grown used to, we have that. But where we start to differentiate ourselves in the marketplace is we can take all of that data, but we also have benchmark data. So that you can compare yourself to other organizations in your same industry, same size, geography, what have you. We also allow you to take data in from external sources. In this particular case, operating profit per FTE. So we're taking that data, and now you're comparing it against your HR data. And one thing that's a little bit different than us in the traditional BI project or data warehouse project is we have a predefined data model. And what this means is we allow our implementations of our BI tool, our analytic tool, is measured in a few months, not the traditional, years it takes to get a big data warehouse up and going. And we all, unfortunately, know that with those big data warehouse projects, HR needs generally fall towards the end. So this helps get the critical business data in the hands of those HR leaders, allow them to have the seat at the business table. Now, as we continue to look at this analytic report here, you can see some key metrics that we're keying off: a termination rate for high performers. We also have down here a specific one, termination rate voluntary. We're looking at it from the perspective of the highest turnover managers as well as the lowest turnover managers. I can drill down on this particular metric. I can see all the data behind it. I can also understand how this metric was created, as well as how I can use this metric to drive the execution in the organization. And this is editable too. This is one of a few hundred metrics we have predefined within our analytics tool. Real powerful stuff. So just as a quick summary, SuccessFactors supports all the hire to retire business processes and a unified suite, all organized around three key tenets: align, optimize, accelerate, delivered on a very scalable global software as a service platform. So hopefully that gave you albeit brief, but good overview of what we can offer in our suite. Now I'm just going to flip back to my presentation here and talk about our roadmap a little bit. As I mentioned, with the SAP acquisition, a lot of resources have been brought to bear to help us further build out our existing processes as well as add new processes to our product suite. And at a high level, it's all built around, smart. We are continually making our products more social and collaborative. We have our Jam social product, and what we're doing now is we're taking that collaborative piece and starting to embed it in all the business processes. So as you're going through maybe a performance review discussion, you can have real-time collaboration with a peer, or in the compensation planning or succession planning. Mobile, I mentioned at the beginning, our application is supported on the leading mobile platforms. Our mandate now is whenever we come out with new functionality, it's mobile first. We always think about how we're going to disperse this on the mobile platform first, and then secondarily, how's it going to look on the desktop. Analytical, always introducing new analytics throughout the business process, again, so that users don't have to go run reports, have those key metrics available at their fingertips. Really integrated. We're doing a lot on the integration front, expanding our APIs and our platform, whether it's to integrate with the SAP on-premise products or other third-party applications. And then finally, hopefully you got a sense of this as I went through the demo, a very toy-like user experience. When we hire people at SuccessFactors, our engineers and such, we look for people that come from the consumer background. We want our applications to be very user-friendly, intuitive. When you go to Amazon, you don't need training on how to use Amazon. That's kind of like how we look at our application. Our users should just be able to log in, execute their business process in a very toy-like user experience. So with that, we're going to have one more polling question. And polling question number 3. SuccessFactors is a solution for A, talent management, core HR and payroll capability. B, performance management, and aligning the right goals to business results. C, analytics. Or D, all of the above. We'll just give you a few seconds to answer that. Great. So looks like people were listening, as Jackie said. I appreciate that. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jackie.
Great. Thanks, Dave, and thanks for that great overview. A fantastic demo on kind of the end-to-end hire-to-retire capabilities within SuccessFactors. So with that, I think we'll jump ahead to our wrap-up and summary, and then also into a quick Q&A. So from this session, you should have gathered a few takeaways or learned a little bit more about SuccessFactors and talent management in a couple of different manners. But as far as just understanding how the HCM space and talent management space has evolved, also recognizing what the definitions are around talent management, or at least some of the standard definitions, and what are those business drivers for building that business case into talent management. We're also, you would have received a little bit more information on SuccessFactors, how it's grown as an organization. It's been around for a while. It was acquired by SAP and is continuing to evolve across the entire end-to-end talent management and business execution suite. And then also, you should have taken away, at least directionally understand where SuccessFactors is investing and heading. Having that view into that smart methodology or smart road mapping, I think will be key, especially some of the advances that are happening in mobile, happening in talent management, et cetera, et cetera. I'd like to just ask quickly, I'm going to circle back to our marketing team to find out if we had some questions and pollings from the audience.